countries. We're expecting 25 to 35,000 people from 110 plus countries this year again. And so community is a really big part of it. We have 170 international sponsors and hundreds of other groups that are coming. So again, the community of communities is the vibe. Education is free. We don't paywall education at ETHDenver. We encourage people to come and learn, and we remove as many economic, geographic, physical, whatever barriers you want to think about that might give either people excuses not to learn or preclude them from having access. But in any case, like, it's free to come. And then biddling is really kind of the hallmark of what we do. We're the only event in the world that focuses on the hackathon or the biddle-a-thon as the core event. And there'll be somewhere between $2.5 and $4 million in prizes, bounties, and investment opportunities. You know, teams from all over the world are going to compete for various bounties and prizes, and to get the attention of, you know, ecosystem investors to like actually build new projects. But really, it kind of boils down to this: we're a big tent and a blank canvas, and we encourage anybody to come and express their unique creativity in a way that's meaningful for them. So the biddling is sort of the rally cry of that activity. It's
that's the first thing, right? That's how ETHDenver started. Is that correct? With the biddling, and then it's grown. Is that true?
Yeah. So in 2018, I went to Kent. Actually, he was the founder of the meetup in Denver, and I was, you know, for a time just an attendee guy, just hanging out and eating pizza, drinking beer, and doing the same thing everybody else was doing. But then I was like, you know, it started growing, and I was like, man, we have so many people coming to this stuff. Like, we should, like, you know, but nobody knew how to build anything. There was nobody that knew how to code a smart contract or anything. So it was like, well, why don't we, like, you know, instead of just pizza, beer, and jokes and backslaps, why don't we actually focus on doing something constructive? So, like, that's how it got started. But yeah, the main event is the biddle-a-thon. So it is and always will be that. We have no intention of ever changing that for economic opportunities or expediency or anything like that. We don't have any interest in that. We don't care. Like, we care about advancing the ball with respect to decentralized technologies. So we just created a game incentive structure that actually works pretty well, and people from all over the world love it. So it worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
So you said like
kind of to John's point about
sorry, you said, I thought it was 10,000. You said like 20,000 people. Is that what you said?
We're expecting 25 to 35,000 this year.
Okay, holy shit. That's
Yeah.
a lot more than I thought.
We're at almost 25,000 applications right now, with 2 weeks to go. Last year, for context, we got half of our applications in the last 2 weeks. That's the FOMO, right? So we couldn't accommodate everybody last year. So we put a whole bunch of people on the wait list, and some people came anyways and just hung out in Denver. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of freaking people in town. So it's going to be 25 to 35K.
So kind of to John's point about it not being a conference, I think one reason for ETHDenver's success is it feels more like a cultural event. It feels almost like a concert, or like
it's an experience. It's a cultural experience.
Yeah, it's not. There are conference elements. It's technically there's a hackathon element, but it feels more like it's more inclusive. It's more. It doesn't feel as businessy as a conference. It's special. It's really special.
If you wear a suit, you're going to look out of place. I mean, dressed up is like, you know, a nice hoodie and maybe an ETHDenver cashmere scarf or something. Like, that's dressed up. Like, you're not going to see, you know, like $1,000 suits and, you know, people like, you know, I don't know. It's just a different vibe. People don't care.
Yeah, people are just there to learn and to understand what Web3 and Ethereum can do for the community. And it's not about anything other than that, really. It's about having a good time, learning, teaching, finding out. It's
about connection and people and expression of creativity and emergent order and bottom up kinds of things, like to Kent's point, call it a festival, call it an experience, call it a experiment, call it whatever you want, but it's definitely not, it has elements of conference to it. Cause we have stages and we have talks and we have people that get up and do all the things that they do. But like, we even have instructions for our speakers around, shilling and tokens and other crap that like, we limit it. Like it has to be educational. So anything that you're putting out, it's not just product launches and hype and shill and memes and crap. It's productive. It's instructional, informational, helpful, creative, something that's a little bit more, sort of constructive than just, the typical conferencey stuff.
Well, and one of the things I think makes ETHDenver really special is that you're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to meet new people, and you're also going to have fun. And that is what I think the difference is. And one of the things that always makes me think about how fun it is like the Bufficorn and Sporky and these things. So can we back up to talk about how, like, what is a Bufficorn for those who have seen this and aren't sure? And how did it come to be? Because from an outsider, I'm like, this is cool and fun, but I'm sure that it didn't just like appear magically, right?
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's all very intentional branding. But it started with, it would have been the fall of 2017. We had a designer working with us, and he still works with us actually. So like all this art behind me, he's done all of this. His name is Sergio Dornias, and he's a genius artist from the community. And we were working with his, at the time, his wife and him. We had a very, very small team. And like, I just said, we need to create a spirit animal. I was like, nobody like has anything that like you can really sort of relate to, so much branding is really arbitrary, and so much branding is really just kind of boring, and it's not memorable. I mean, I'd say 90 some odd % of marketing falls pretty flat, when it comes to like memorability and just like iconic sort of like stuff that you can build. And so at the time, Vitalik used to wear these shirts that was like, there was a unicorn holding the Ethereum sign, right? So somebody made like a cartoon t-shirt where a cartoon unicorn's holding a sign that said Ethereum. And, we're in Colorado, and I was like, we're all about memes here too. So like, I was like, well, what if we actually mix like a, buffalo and a unicorn, and it was either Bufficorn or Unibuff, right? So we were deciding between the two, and Unibuff just didn't sound right. And, so we're like, let's go with Bufficorn. And so the first year we had our steward t-shirts, we had these pink steward t-shirts that were similar. So we had a cartoon Bufficorn holding a sign that said ETHDenver. So again, it was like a parody of that Vitalik t-shirt, and nobody knew what it was. Like the feedback that we got was like, well, what's that like animal thing? Like that seems like an inside joke of the stewards. And like, we actually got a lot of criticism for it. Like nobody really knew what it was, and we didn't do a really great job at like explaining what it was. There was no lore, there was no story, there was no like backdrop. It was just this random thing that popped out of my head that we created these t-shirts and had some stickers, and it was kind of it. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't great. So then the next year we wrote a backstory called The Might and Flight of the Bufficorn, and it's still on Medium. You can go check it out. We made these like sublimated t-shirts that, again, Vitalik had a crazy t-shirt where he had like a cat riding a llama with a, crown on it, and like just weird memes. And so we're like, yeah. So we made a spork marmot riding a Bufficorn with pega Bufficorns flying in the sky, and like this crazy like t-shirt looking thing. And it just started becoming like really, people started getting the story and like what it meant to be a Bufficorn. And we did a bunch of like additional content. We actually built like a mascot costume.
Yeah, I was going to say so I remember when your Vitalik wore the mascot.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Or was that last year? Yeah. So, I mean, it really has become something that's bigger than just like.
Oh yeah. It's now it's very much representative of ETHDenver, what it means. Like there's even like be a Bufficorn. What does it mean to be a Bufficorn? Well, being a Bufficorn is expressing your unique creativity, but the strength of the community, right? So it's like the sort of real life representation of positive sum games where the individual is creative and expressive, but it also contributes to the strength of the community, right? So a lot of the sort of crypto philosophy that exists in Web3 is kind of now built into the persona of the Bufficorn. So now, I mean, people tweet at us all the time with their Bufficorn stuffies on top of their Christmas trees, sit next to them in the airplanes. They have their sporks, they have their sporky stickers, they have all sorts of stuff. And like, it's become like a cultural thing where people kind of pick the character that they like and it becomes sort of their persona for a few days, you know, like.
Yeah. Kent, what were you, I have one of those too, but why don't you explain what are you holding up?
So this is
I
one
got
of
mine
my
at DevCon from John.
One of my favorite pieces of swag. I treasure this thing. I keep it next to my desk and I fidget with it constantly when I work. But this is a commemorative Spork DAO Spork Marmot coin minted in 2021. One thing that's always been like a strength of ETHDenver is just like good quality swag. You know, it's like this is fun stuff, and it's like it lasts, and it's like sometimes it's like the little things, and people really love this shit because it's such a contrast to like I am going to, you know, this event sponsored by such and such Fortune 500 company, and it doesn't have a soul.
Microsoft, you know, like whatever.
And cool, if you want to rock it out and, you know, connect and do that businessy stuff, that's great. But this is more of this is different. And I think this is emblematic of that difference.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we put a lot of effort into like commemorating experience. And, you know, whether it's a special edition engraved spork or a coin like he's got there, which is a card protector for poker, in addition to a claim coin for an NFT. There's, you know, everything we do with swag is about quality and experience, like commemorating that experience. So when you have it, like, you know, it's just like people that wear their Bufficorn pajama pants, you know, they have Pega Bufficorn pajama pants, and they're ridiculous, but like people love this shit. And they're like, oh man, do you remember when I got I get messages like that, like, oh, I was wearing, you know, they'll take pictures of them wearing their pajama pants. They're like taking pictures of themselves before they go to bed and sending them to me because they have such positive memories of like wearing pajama pants. I mean, it's like, in a way it's ridiculous, but in a way it's just really human, you know. It's like connecting with things that people care about and sort of making the swag experience sort of representative of those principles that they care about. And then executing the details. I mean, we're very good at executing the details. So, you know, it's a combination of all of those things.
Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things with like the swag and what you said before about the Bufficorn and people feeling like maybe like it's inside, you know, an insider thing. I remember being nervous for my first ETHDenver. And so anybody who's watching this who hasn't been before, I'll say that because of all of these things, you may look at it and be like, whoa, I don't know a lot. But when you get there, you're like right in the mix of it. You don't need to be nervous for it.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. There's so many people there that want you to be there and that want to help. And it really does feel like a community rather than if you've been at one of those like typical, you know, big company conferences where you walk in and you're
cool
like,
kid club conference. Yeah.
You're kind of like trying to figure out like who you're supposed to be. You can just be yourself. Like let your
this is by design too.
Yeah.
Like
that's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. One of the things we always talk about, like at the opener every year, is like welcoming everybody. Like this is a no gatekeeper environment. This is an open environment. Check your ego at the door. Like we don't care if you're a VC, Twitter influencer, like what are you bringing to the space? Are you cool? And I think that resonates with people because crypto can be a really intimidating place. When you go down this rabbit hole, it's like, whoa. And then, you know, you realize that there's a lot of other people that might have been down that rabbit hole a lot longer than you, and it can feel intimidating. And it's so important to create a welcome environment where people can kind of show up and be like, okay. And, you know, we've done this before where it's like, wait, I need like some one-on-one content. What can I do? And it kind of aligns with C4's mission too, but like, how do I learn about this stuff? And the cool thing is it's kind of viral. Like when you foster that environment at an event, it spreads and, you know, people people, the attendees themselves become more welcoming and helpful. And it has been such a good
Well,
formula.
and they're also protective of it. Like, so one of the things that we've been able to do probably better than anything I've seen at scale is build a culture of this, right? Where, once you come and you experience it for the first time, you become like kind of protective of it, because it's like, man, there's not a lot like this. Like, we don't want to lose that vibe. So then you become the kind of next generation of stewardship, educating the next people that you encounter, right? Like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Like, it's everything's cool here. Like, don't stress, just come and be you. Like, I always say, like, the most important thing for a noob at ETHDenver is just to come and learn. Just come and learn. And then if you're ready, express your creativity. But you don't have to be ready for that. Like, I know plenty of people that have come to ETHDenver for a couple of years, and now they're telling me this is the first year they're going to build a project. That's okay. Like, take your time. Like, inventing a new social, economic, and monetary system is not exactly like low science here. Like, I mean, there's quite a bit to learn, and it can be freaking overwhelming, especially if you're new. I mean, I know the average person isn't coming with a lot of their friends either. A lot of these people come from friends groups that don't have an interest in Web3. They just happen to be the one person that sort of pops their head up and goes, hey, I'm interested in this. I'm going to go to ETHDenver and try to meet some new people, but they don't know anybody. They haven't really immersed themselves in it yet. And ETHDenver is that immersion point, but it takes time. But that's why we try to make it as open, as welcoming, as low barrier, and as low expectation as possible. I mean, that's why we don't charge tickets. It's why you're not required to do anything, like,
can I jump
do.
off of that with the community side of things, like this creative community part? I think that one of the things I've heard a lot about last year and more so this year is Spork DAO. And so that goes on with what we're saying with the creativity of a spork, which, like, why I would love to hear, but also like this DAO culture of bringing people in, meeting new people, and having it be a way that you can meet friends, meet your people, this kind of community, but it's all kind of housed within this idea of a decentralized autonomous organization. And so how has that shifted and changed? And maybe, Kent, do you want to start by just explaining what a DAO is for anyone who's listening is unfamiliar?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jess. So I just did a talk last week for a group called Liberty on the Rocks here in Denver, and the title literally was what WTF is a DAO. So DAOs are
great title.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's probably what everybody's thinking is like, what's a DAO?
Fuck is that, man?
DAOs are essentially like novel ways that the humans can coordinate with one another that they up until this point they really weren't able to. And the important thing about DAOs is they leverage some fundamental properties of the decentralized blockchains that they've been built on. Namely, Ethereum is where most DAOs are built. They leverage things like transparency. So, imagine if a DAO is doing some fundraising for something and maybe for a purpose, you would like to know where all those funds are and where they're going. Blockchains are perfect for that. So here it's transparency. Another really nice aspect of DAOs, Spork DAOs and other DAOs, Shapeshift is one near and dear to my heart. I do tokenomics at Shapeshift, is the governance side of things. So the idea that, you can have a community where the community has a vested interest in the project due to its native token, which allows you to vote on things and have more of a direct sort of say in what happens. And it's been really cool to see DAOs emerge, and people really do get engaged. This is like a new way of structuring things, and I think it's tapping into this sense, this zeitgeist, that the way that we've been doing things can certainly be improved upon. Let's maybe try something else. And it's a great way to go about that, while also being very focused around a certain sort of mission or vision or cause.
Yeah, I might just add to that, like, in terms of accessibility, DAOs are kind of a crazy concept, but for some people, it might be helpful to describe them as like a next generation cooperative. In the history of mankind, there's all sorts of different mechanisms that we've used for coordinating and, building, accruing, distributing value, and sort of, fencing in ideas and, people in communities. Cooperatives have been around for a very, very long time. But the V1 of cooperatives are, an analog version of them are pretty slow, not terribly adaptive. And they don't use any next generation tools that we talk about in Web3. So DAOs are kind of the next chapter of that. For me, it's like, I don't see, there's a lot of talk about public goods and open source and not for profit. And, I mean, the in the history of man, in terms of economic models and monetary policy, like we haven't really seen a lot of progress when we just do things without expectation of economic vibrancy or returns, right? So what I think DAOs really offer is like a nexus of like a lot of interesting concepts, both old and new, that create new paths of organizing humans and business ideas that could fundamentally and probably will fundamentally reshape the way that we think about our commercial lives. But so think about like for-profit, high-octane cooperatives that are digital in nature, global in scale, and could accrue value at orders of magnitude more than any corporate structure ever could. That's the kind of thing that we're sitting on the doorstep of, in my opinion.
And the goal is to move ETHDenver to be fully community built through the DAO, correct? Isn't it?
So it's not
both?
To move it; it already is. It's owned.
Oh, it is. I thought that it was in
Sport
transition,
DAO
so that's
is,
already okay.
Yeah, the governance is in transition. So there's a board of stewards that currently governs the DAO, but we still have to figure out what parts and pieces are appropriate to hand to the community, because you can't have a community organizing an event this complex. Like, sorry, it will never happen, and it will never be executed if we do that. So like you can get pipe dreams and ideas about, wouldn't it be cool if we just decentralized ETHDenver? Yeah, no, it's never going to happen, because
it's hard enough to do an event when it's not.
And trust me, we've tried to do pieces and parts of ETHDenver in a more decentralized, community-led way, and it just never goes well, because there's a lot of incentive misalignments and just engagement in economic issues, and just we have the event itself will always be somewhat centralized. Now we have a very benevolent structure. We use what's called stewardships, and we don't have a traditional hierarchy. We have a hierarchy of execution responsibility, not power. But so myself as the chief executive steward of Sport DAO and ETHDenver, my job is to make sure that the trains run on time. That we get things done and executed, and executing a master project plan, which has many, many moving parts and pieces. You could never do that in a decentralized way. You couldn't. We tried. 2019 was sort of experimental that way, but the overall structure of the DAO, with the sport token, is the coordinating mechanism. It's the unit of account that we use to determine patronage profits. The legal entity is a Colorado cooperative, so we've wrapped the DAO in a legal wrapper, and ETHDenver is a wholly owned subsidiary. So the community owns it. It's fully owned. Now I'm a stakeholder. Kent's a stakeholder. You're a stakeholder. Everybody's a stakeholder who has sport tokens. But in the end, it's a community-led event, community innovation festival, that the goal is to accrue value back to the community by the creativity that's being expressed at the event. So when there's a great project on stage, wouldn't it be cool if the community invested in that project, saw that project become really successful, and then accrued value back to the community? That's what we're doing. So we're creating a full cycle of, creativity, value, creation and accrual, and then cycling it back to the community. So we call these regen games, or positive sum games, in terms of economic models, but this has never been really done at any sort of scale in a, certainly not in an event setting, right? And not in an investment setting either. So this is like Y Combinator, but paired with an event, but it's community owned. Like it's a DAO. Like no one's ever done it. So
one of the cool things is you were talking about like the sport token. So I know a lot of people will be going who aren't familiar with how to use tokens, or what that even means to be on, like what network you're on, how to set up a wallet. And this is one of the things that I'm pretty excited about this year. And Kent's going to be volunteering with C4 to do some of this, but we're going to be helping people and helping my Ether wallets have people learn how to set up wallets. How do you actually make your first transaction? Yep. How can you go to a food truck?
Stake your tokens, become a member of the DAO. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're like, I don't know how to do this stuff and it sounds overwhelming, that's okay. Like
that's the point.
To learn.
That's the point. Come and learn how to do it. We have a whole Okay, for context, anybody listening to this, probably 40% of the people coming have no bloody clue about half the stuff that I'm talking about. Okay, but that shouldn't be a reason not to come. In fact, that's the reason to come. They're gonna come and we're gonna teach you how to do it. That's the point. It's not that you need to know and it's only a cool kids club, and if you don't know, then you're a dork and we don't want to talk to you. It's like almost half the people there are they're gonna be in the same boat. So it's like totally fine. And we have all sorts of vectors of learning opportunities for that. So like it should not be a point of intimidation. And if it is, which is understandable that you still might feel that way, transcend it. Jump in the pool. The water's nice.
We saw this last year with the kind of the rise of NFTs as a cultural phenomenon, which I remember the word NFT, the first time I heard it, I think it was at ETHDenver 2018. And I was trying to get my head around it. And lo and behold, a couple of years later, it's taken over the world. But you had a lot of people that were kind of interested in the concept, intrigued, but at the same time, they have, the media telling them that crypto is a scam, just nonstop drumbeat from the establishment of fuck crypto. Crypto is nothing but a scam. It's only for, the rich to get richer.
Ponzi scheme.
But then people show up and they interact with this technology and it's like, okay. And all of a sudden it's demystified. Cool. And I think this is like one of the most important roles that ETHDenver plays is like, we do such a good job of that. And I think other conferences can play that role too, for sure. But like when you're there and you kind of,
there's nobody else who dog foods like we do. There's nobody else that dog foods like we do. Like we go to the ends of the earth, the dog food technology, and take incredible reputational risk and potential failure catastrophically.
A great example,
give people experiences.
The food trucks, I think this was ETHDenver 2019, the XDive food trucks. So, hey, you're going to pay for your meal in crypto. And at first people are like, whoa. And the food truck owners are like, whoa. But it turns out it was a great success. I mean, fast forward to today, we have Gnosis Chain. XDive became Gnosis Chain. It's a very successful project. And yeah, it's excellent.
Well, and to be in a place where you have literally thousands of people standing around helping one another learn how to do this. If you've never made a transaction, if you've never set up a wallet, like coming to this space where there are so many people who love this technology and are eager to onboard more people, you don't need to feel silly saying, I don't understand how this works. Like that's the point.
It's the point. I mean, I can't tell you how many conferences I've been to where like, I don't know. It's like the Insider Club has been going for a long time. You're the FNG, you don't know anybody, and it's just not that comfortable socially. I hate conferences personally. I don't like them. I don't like them. I hate them. People think I'm like super social guy, and I'm actually like I'm an ambivert. Like I prefer my sort of close circle of friends and just like do my thing. But like the average conference, I'd rather have a root canal than go deal with that. Like, and for lots of reasons. I mean, there's hierarchical issues, there's sort of sterility around branding, and there's inauthenticity and just fakeness, and just, you got to put on the mask and the persona, and you got to be somebody that you're not, and you got to fake it till you make it and all that crap. And it's just like, it's exhausting. For me, it's exhausting. I'm just, forget it. So like, I mean, as we've been architecting the culture of ETHDenver, it's been very intentional that we solve for noobs. So if you're new, that's actually more of our audience and who we're trying to welcome than the OGs. The OGs are doing the same thing. They're all focused on helping people learn too. I mean, we deputize literally the smartest people in the world to come and help educate our community on these next generation happenings and experiences. Like, it's not they're cool and you're not. It's actually quite the opposite. We have a servant leadership attitude from our community that's quite fantastic to watch.
At the same time, I think we've done such a good job of striking an ideal balance between kind of the new people to the space, but also like if you want to deep dive and be like, okay, what are the implications of MEV on rollups, and how do those implications differ between optimistic rollups and zero knowledge rollups? Like there'll probably be a session about something like that. Like, so for the people that do
Totally.
want to really, that I have been down the rabbit hole and they want to build, and it just is like, it's such a wonderful balance.
Well, there's something for everybody for sure. And you are right. There is some advanced level content that, we are known for sort of let's put it this way. We're the first major event of the year on the calendar. So as people have been hibernating since, say, DevCon last fall, they've been working on all of their announcements and their product launches and all the next generation happenings and things that are going to go on. And where do you think they want to talk about it? So, we're kind of the announcement calendar for everybody's stuff, because it's like kind of getting shot out of the cannon for the year. Then it sets the tone. I mean, we've set the tone almost every year for kind of the next thing. Like, what's the next thing? What's the next vector of adoption or development, or, where we're going to gain fidelity around the tech or infrastructure, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's all ETHDenver is where it happens. And it's not me creating it. I just have a big tent and a big stage with 8 stages where people come and do this, right? Where it's like, we just give them the mic and create a great environment for them to do it. And it's fabulously fun. So
8 stages and Biddle-a-thon means a lot of content, a lot of activities. What are you two looking forward to this year? Anything different than other years, or is there something that's always your favorite part?
Well, my favorite part is, well, let me give a little context for this. So I come from HR tech and employment systems, and I'm an amateur social anthropologist, you could say. And I find it as a macro theme of the world of work, I find it depressing that 80% of US workers, for example, are disengaged with the work they do. They hate their jobs. And this is where they spend most of their waking hours, right? So like, we've got a huge sort of creativity gap, call it, or just an expression gap, where people are just not feeling very vibrant in what they do for most of their time awake. They're just kind of, doing the paycheck culture. It's a means to an end, right? And yeah, they make money, but really, are they really living their joy? I would say no. I would argue absolutely not. And I could back that up with a lot of other statistics, but I won't get into the weeds. So the thing that I love the most about ETHDenver is the random people that just hit their creativity stride. There are people that come with no clue what they're going to do. And by the end of the weekend, they're just like beaming with creativity in a way that like, you can't describe it. You can't pay for it. You can't build it. You can't do anything. All you got to do is give them the path and opportunity and get out of the way. And that is the thing that every year I see that makes it worthwhile for me, to see humans enter their creativity authentically like that and do something meaningful with it. That's beautiful. That is worth building more of it, because that is where Web3, I think, has the opportunity or the ability to unlock and align creativity in much more constructive ways, where we haven't been able to see this before. I mean, NFTs are a good example. There are artists now expressing themselves through this art digitally that would never be able to monetize their artwork previously before this movement, before this asset class emerged. It would never happen. Nobody gave a shit about these people, but now it's, digital scarcity and on-chain ownership and easy transferability and all sorts of different variables have created a whole new class of work. Okay, that is what's beautiful. Okay, that's the kind of thing that I look forward to. So I don't have expectations. I just want to see that, and I know it's going to show up. I just don't know who it's going to be, but I'm there on the front row seat for it. Clapping and encouraging as much as I can.
Yeah,
plus
well
100
said.
on that. I mean, the cool thing is when you when you have that energy around you, it's like, it's hard to like really describe it unless you're there. It's like, there's a certain buzz, and it's like, I've only experienced it maybe also at like the early dev cons as well, but that's much smaller. You know, this is a bigger thing, and the energy is amazing. One thing I'm really looking forward to seeing this year is like, in terms of scaling. So this venue, like, unfortunately, you know, we've had to say goodbye to the Sports Castle, which is bittersweet because that venue was like perfect for the early years of ETHDenver. But at the same time, the whole thing has grown. Crypto's grown, ETHDenver's grown. There's more people. Crypto is a household thing now. People understand it. It's not niche. So we have a much bigger venue this year, and a lot more people, kind of to what John was saying. So it's going to be really interesting to see just like, how does that scale up? One of the things I mentioned on a panel last year, and I got quoted in Westward, our local indie magazine or newspaper, saying this, but like, somebody said, where do you see ETHDenver in a couple of years? And I just said, I didn't even have to really think about it. I said, we're going to be in stadiums eventually, but we're going to scale up in a way that still maintains that awesome vibe. And, you know, this is like a half stadium pretty much. And I'm looking forward to just seeing how does this work when there's that many more people. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, well, depending on who you ask, it is a stadium, and it's pretty much. I mean, it's between both buildings. It's almost 1 million square feet. So, like, I mean, it is big venue, and we're not using the event center beyond like a few things, but like the main 1908 building is jammed with like people and content and whatnot, and it's pretty much there. But I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I've said to the team, and our board of stewards agrees that, and our entire community agrees, that we will not scale the event in a way that sacrifices that bottom-up culture. Hard stop. We will never sell it out. I don't care. Like, we've had, and I won't name names, but we've had large corporate sponsors want to come in now and essentially, you know, farm our people, you know, like engagement and marketing and branding and big corporate names and all this kind of stuff. And we don't give a shit. We say, no thanks. Don't need the money. And they're like, what? Why would you do that? Well, we'll pay more. No, don't care. It's not about the money, dude. And then as a byproduct, ironically, we raise more money than we've ever raised before this year in a bear market. So like, the community gets it. We get it. We're incredibly protective of it. But that's the thing that differentiates ETHDenver from everything else, is that emergent, bottom up, you know, freedom of expression of creativity. That's the thing that I find, I mean, it's moving. It's moving. I mean, it's so human and so beautiful. Like, when do you get to see that? Like, I don't know, but like, as far as like my life's accomplishments, I get to live vicariously through all these people that are like expressing themselves. I mean, I'm doing the same in my own way. I feel great about what I'm doing. So like, don't worry about me. But like, you know, it's a multiplication of that expression of creativity. That's what Web3 is to me. That's what it allows. And like, we've been, I mean, it's all very intentional. So like, we've been successful at it. We plan on being very careful about how we scale. But at the same time, you know, so far we're on the right track.
Well, one of the things that I think we've been talking about, you know, how many people there are and how many things there are to do and how big. And I feel like we shouldn't leave out the fact that in the past, and I'm sure you guys are doing this again, there is a chill zone. There's been yoga. There's been all of these different activities that are geared towards people who are introverts or ambiverts or want something that's a little quieter, and to, you know, and I've done that too. I've been out among everyone and then gone and sat on a beanbag. Or John, you and I saw each other once in I walked in, there was actually no one in this like side room, and you were just in there doing yoga. I remember being like, oh my God, it's so quiet in here. It was just like this perfect quiet space. And it made me feel more connected to everything else when I went back out into the, you know, the noise, I guess I would say. And I think that that's something, I don't know if I've ever seen that really anywhere.
Well,
Normally
we've had some conferences sort of replicate some of those elements, but we were the first ones to do it. Yeah, I mean, it comes from, again, the human approach to thinking about how humans function in social spaces, how we nurture creativity, how we encourage the expression of that creativity, how we maintain sort of a safe, balanced environment where we give people choice and variety of, choosing their own adventure, right? Not everything is like spazzing, boom, 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 music all the time in crypto, although there's lots of parties that might lead you to believe that that is what it is. I've been to 50 of that same party at least, but at the same time, it's a balance, right? So we want people to feel like there's something for them. So this year, you're going to see a huge increase in the amount of games that you see, blockchain-based games. Like we have a whole blockchain-based arcade that's being led by Blockade Games, coin artist, and several of her, colleagues from the gaming space are like, we're bringing like 20 different blockchain-based games. And it's like, not just on the 6th floor of the sports castle where it's kind of like hidden up in the attic, but like its main, like huge space where people can come and goof around and have some fun and get a glimpse into the future from a gaming perspective. The Zen Zone's back, the Gong Bass and the yoga studios back, like the DJ chill room's back, like all of that's back. It's all back and better, right? So like we continue to learn from our past on how to optimize and kind of what people like, what they don't like, and we adjust to that. And we adjusted that based on people's feedback on how to, create a place and a space that's going to garner the best outcome for people's experience and expression of creativity. That's all we care about. Is
and
just,
it really is cool to see cases where the stuff we've kind of led with has been duplicated elsewhere. Like now, if you go to DevCon, there's a chill room at DevCon, and other sorts of aspects. And
well, they have that whole
cool.
hacker garage that down in the parking garage area. Kent, that felt like ETHDenver.
That was like the ETHDenver level. Yeah.
That was the one floor that I didn't hate, and I was like, because the rest of it is just the conference
was inspiring, but like in terms of the vibe, that was the right vibe. But it's like
vibe.
That's the vibe. When you think about impact, like ETHDenver, at the end of the day, it is a in-person event and it's remarkable. But it's in terms of the virus spreading, as we like to say in crypto, like to have people come here, get inspired, and then start their own communities or their own events. That's cool too, because it's spreading. This is how counterculture arises, and it's happening before our eyes, which is really fun to see.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead. No. I was just gonna say, yeah, it is. It's fun.
Yeah, it's an incredible event, and I feel very lucky to be a part of it. And I'm excited. C4 has a booth, and we've got we're going to be doing some stuff in blockchain 101, helping people learn how to actually go through, set up, by the bunny slope stage, how to set up a wallet, how to do this transaction, all this stuff. And I feel very lucky to have so many people that volunteer with ETHDenver and C4 that just care about this community and are really going to be there donating their time to make sure that people are going to come away knowing how to do these things. So if you're coming to ETHDenver, which you should be, and you want to learn how to set up a wallet or anything like that, how to do a transaction, you don't need to try to figure it out and squirm around ahead of time. Cool if you can figure it out. If you need that extra help, there will be people there who are kind, compassionate, knowledgeable, and really just want you to understand how the tech works, because we want you to be a part of this community. And if you don't know how these things work, it's hard to really feel like you're a part of the community.
I think it's impossible if you don't just jump in the pool. Like, I always say, you're never ready. Anytime you think, well, maybe I should watch some YouTube videos and get ready and learn something. What are you going to learn? Like, where does it start? When does it stop? Like, the best way to learn how to swim is jump in the pool. Okay. The same thing is true because blockchain, crypto, Web3, it's not about the knowledge. Actually, it's about the community. The community is the secret weapon. Community is the new IP. The next generation of the internet is going to be built on communities, and where you can leverage that to sort of multiply your own creative contributions. That's where you win. But you're not going to be able to unlock any of that unless you just jump in. And again, There's no expectations. That doesn't mean that you jump in and you have to be all-star, all-state swimmer by the end of the first event. Like, no, that's not the point. If you don't feel ready to build a project, then don't do it. Just learn, and come back next year and do it.
Or if you just want to show up and maybe you're an art fan, you want to check out the NFT art gallery, which was another thing we pioneered, doing NFT art before that was kind of a thing. And now it's really grown. We have
before anybody even knew what it was.
Yeah. Like what the hell is an NFT? And now it's getting curated. I mean, we have great people curating the art, super talented.
We have world-class artists.
Yeah.
We hosted Beeple's first NFT art auction, like that kind of stuff. We're like the genesis of that. So like, if you're an artist, if you're a creative, if you're a gamer, if you're a coder, if you're a community person, if you're a legal person, if you're a social person, if you're an economics person, if you're just a curious person, like whatever, like there's something for literally everybody, not just knowledge wise, but like experientially, like there's literally something for everybody.
One thing that additional thing I think that makes ETHDenver special is like, and this has always been part of our DNA, is like, this is not something where we focus on like the price of ETH or other crypto assets. It's like, of course, everybody who's in the space is probably interested in that. Maybe they hold crypto, cool. If not, whatever. But like, there's a lot of there's a tendency at some events to just kind of get too caught up into the ephemeral prices. They go up and down. Who knows what's going to happen? We don't ever really cover that stuff. This is not like
in fact, it's probably the opposite. It's socially not really encouraged. Like if people are doing that, people are like, what? No, we don't really do that here. We focus on building, right? Like we're here for the social change. The price will take care of itself. That's the way I think about it. Like I'm an ETH holder, I'm an asset holder, I'm a Spork holder, I'm a bunch of, I got a bunch of crypto assets, but I don't care about it's not about my net worth. Not now, don't care. It's about how do we build and contribute more value? How do we advance the ball? How do we help the next generation? How do we multiply the efforts of the community? That's how we create the exponential effect in the long view.
We first saw that in the first or the second ETHDenver, which came amidst this nuclear bear market. The first one happened still kind of the ICO bubble, good times, but
it was sort of on the tail end of the bubble, but it was still pretty buoyant.
Yeah, we still got the bull fumes. The second one was nuked, and I remember just kind of wondering at the time, I'm like, how is this going to go down? But it turns out
it was bigger.
It was bigger, and nobody really cared. I'm like, wow, like people really are dedicated to this. Is where building became. I think John, you memed that into existence, Biddle, but it became a thing. And here we are again. It's another cycle. It's another bear market, and yet ETHDenver is probably going to do at least a 2x in attendance, and it's going to be incredible. So
in a bear market. In a bear market. It's in a bear market. I mean, in what I would consider is post FTX. Maybe some of the lowest sentiment that I've seen around crypto, blockchain, Web3, late last year, November, December was terrible, and we're still growing. So if that's happening, that there's something else going on here than just price and all the other, propaganda, garbage, trash, or even scammers, legitimate stuff that people might be concerned about, but things that don't help. But you got to deal with it. But our community doesn't seem to care.
Well, hearing that, 25,000 people have applied to attend ETHDenver when, everything you just said, right after the prices tanked, all this stuff just shows that it's a community about building, not a community focused on the price of the asset.
if you go to Miami for BTC Miami, if you go to some of these others, they're very much about that. Number go up, price, shilling, when they got in and, how much money they've made and all this kind of stuff, Lambos and moonshots and stuff. Who cares? That stuff just drives me nuts. I listen to it and I'm just like, ugh, really? That's all you got, man? Just about, crypto, man, bro, Bitcoin to the moon, killing me. Yeah, there's a lot more to it that I think our community is focused on the right things and over the long term. So I would say 2019 was deep freeze. I mean, 2020 wasn't better. I mean, I think ETH was like $300 or something. And then in March, it tanked to $80 because of COVID. So like, yeah, I've seen shitty markets. Like we had sponsors not pay their bills because of COVID. And like, we had to like scramble and figure out how to survive. So like, we've been through bear markets and like, we still grew. 2019 grew from 1,500 to 2,000. 2020 grew from 2,000 to 2,500. And then we skipped 2021 in person because of COVID. So that was virtual. 31,000 people showed up virtually, which I kind of don't count because like nobody had anything else to do. And this last year was like 13,000 people in person.
And I will say we're close to the end of our time, but I did want to say for those who are questioning if you should come or not, last year I wasn't sure if I was going to come or not. I had a lot of post-COVID anxiety, wasn't sure what to do. And then the FOMO took over and I went, and I'm so glad that I did. For me, it kind of was that push to get back into real life again. And I didn't realize how much I needed that. But then being around so many people who were really just kind and caring, like, and just, I felt really welcoming, was a really good step for me back into the real world. And I felt that same energy at my first ETHDenver in terms of it being my push into crypto and feeling really comfortable with people who are helping me learn how to do new things, I think I made one of my first transactions at a food truck, things like that. And just really feeling like, okay, I fit in here and it might be outside of my comfort zone, but it turns out that it was great. And so if you're wondering if you should go or not, I think you should. And I think you should come say hi to us in either at our booth or in the Blockchain 101 area. Look for people with C4 shirts or with ETHDenver, shirts on if you're needing to get some help. And people you'll find are going to be just really welcoming and kind, and you'll fit right in, I think. I've yet to meet anyone who's gone and not had a good experience. I'm sure there are some people that haven't.
Oh, we've had a few, but they're mostly like, they're the kind of people that are never happy, right? Like it's those people, and there's not that many of those. So like, there's always the outlier, but like generally speaking, people love it.
It's hard to not have a good experience at something where it's so focused upon having a good experience. So I feel like if you're unsure, join us, or don't. It's okay if you don't want to, and then you want to like continue to learn and join later. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to go to something or you're like not a part of the community. Like we said, you're a part of the community, however you want to engage with other people, but we hope to see you there.
Yeah, and I just one final thought. If you don't decide to come, live streaming is happening all weekend. So like I actually met a few people this past installation last year who they were like waiting to talk to me, and I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. And they're like, I've been watching the live stream for like 3 years. And like, I finally decided to come because I was too chicken to come and I was too intimidated and all this. And then, I couldn't stay away from the FOMO anymore. So like, I decided to come, and they're like, it's the best thing ever. It's like 50 times better in person. I was like, yeah, you can't really compare it, but like, yeah, for sure. Like, yeah.
So to reiterate, there are no prerequisites. You don't have to, you can show up not knowing anything about crypto, like
free to attend,
Ethereum,
no expectations, choose your own adventure, take your learning, seriously, but then just do whatever you want, like
meet Kent.
Yeah, meet Kent.
Come say hi.
I mean, you're going to be around the Blockchain 101. So
yeah, I don't know where in the venue
faces.
I'll be. I need to like fork myself because I'm going to be repping ETHDenver, Shapeshift, and C4. I'll triple fork myself.
Oh my God. Yeah, awesome. Tell me about it.
You'll be the spork. Okay, well, this has been awesome. I really appreciate both of you joining me to chat about this, and I will see you in less than a month in Denver. So thank you all for watching. Appreciate you guys joining, and we'll talk soon.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, bye.